Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, hosted by Slam and Jordan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of Coast to Coast podcast. I am Slam, joined as always by my main man, Ray. Ray, how you feeling this afternoon?
What up, Slam? What up, MBL? I'm good, man.
So early on in the season, a lot of moves were made in the offseason, and everyone loves to give their opinion one way or the other. We definitely like to do that on Coast to Coast, and we've weighed in on a particular trade, I think about as much as we could, but we've only looked at it from one team's point of view, and I think it's only fair that we shift the focus to the second team because it takes two teams to trade. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome today's special guest, owner of the Baltimore Ravens, Cougs. Welcome, Cougs.
What up,
How's it going, fellas? What's up, guys?
We're chilling. We've already said all that we can say. Why don't you tell us about the haul that you received from the Green Bay Packers?
Please do. Oh my goodness.
Well, honestly, first couple seasons, I was trying to I knew I was gonna be gone quite a bit, so I was trying to just open up cap, knowing stuff was getting crazy down the road. When I traded to get the first round pick was for 3 seconds. I think all 3 of those second round picks turned into superstar guys for Playa, which worked out great for him, right? If you look at that trade, I got the first. I kind of knew I was not gonna be able to build rookies the first few years being gone too, so it kind of goes all the way back to there. As we moved closer, it was a lot of people thought they liked a lot of the quarterbacks in this draft. Personally, I was actually thinking about taking one myself just in a year or so. I've had so many guys that I want to pay, and it's, do I stay with Lamar or was I gonna have a rookie quarterback? But I had so many people come to me about random stuff. Reezy with the worst trade offers, of course. Dude, they're just terrible. I don't even know what to say. But how it came about was there was a couple people that wanted quarterbacks. There was a couple people that reached out to me, but either because of BMT they couldn't trade. So I was kind of like, all right, I might just take the best available guy. Wide receiver, corner were the 2 kind of spots I needed someone. There was a wide receiver I think the Eagles ended up taking that looked pretty good, but I was kind of worried about a $10 million salary. And so redemption kind of came to me pretty quickly. Was like, hey, I want to get up there. Just talking about wanting to get the quarterback. I kind of saw through that the whole time. I was like, you don't want a quarterback. I don't think. But he gave me, I think, a list of 4 guys. And I was actually really trying to push some guy. I have to sign, Flowers. I have to sign Humphrey, a couple of guys this season. So I was trying to push Flowers to get a wide receiver. Obviously, that the first part was me trying to get his wide receiver, his toy in Sanford, and he just wouldn't budge. Like you guys have seen the offers. It was Kyle Hamilton. It was a first, a second, a third, and Flowers for him. That one guy.
Could you imagine that trade? Wow, that would have been a big trade for Green Bay.
But that trade I knew I would be losing.
Absolutely.
But for me, I would be winning cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all it was about.
He declined that, obviously.
He declined it. Yeah, he declined that, and so we kind of fell to where it was 3 of the superstar players, younger guys. Once that my cap space clears up, I can sign if I want. But also there were spots I didn't have a D tackle. I didn't have a corner because Humphrey will be gone after this year. So those were my 2 main focuses of guys I kind of needed. And then the safety was kind of a throw-in depth kind of guy. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with Hamilton at the time because that was before my other trade. So they kind of all came together. But man, really, I added the 6th and 7th pick just so I could get to 53 guys. But it was about getting 3 guys who I thought could contribute. All 3 are starting on my team, on my defense. That's been a really good defense so far. And all 3 combined make less than $4 million, where I would have been paying $10 million for that quarterback, and I would never really been able to move him because the cap penalty would have been too high. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I got better on defense. and I was able to keep other pieces because they're just so cheap, really, at the end of the day.
And Green Bay got a tight end. So, good for you, good for them. Yeah. There it is.
Is it though?
I mean,
that tight end looked nice, but that's it. Nice, not like first overall. Like I gotta have him. That surprised me. I think we'll see that guy lighting up, and he'll be a Pro Bowler, but he'll do anything he can to justify that.
Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair. I know it's fun to pile on and make fun, but it is only 3 games into the season, so we got 14 more to go. So could average 100 yards a game for the next 14. Who knows?
Yeah. So what I know is that Baltimore just got 3 dogs on defense, and so to a defense that was already very talented. But now you added 3 superstar players. Kudos to you. Great move, man. I think that's gonna put you. You're a 2-time champ. So I think, last year was one of those things where it came up against a hot team. But this year, you add into the defense, you add some draft picks. Team looks scary once again. And so, what's the outlook for this season for your team after winning 2 Super Bowls and now, being in contention again? What's your outlook for this season? How y'all trending?
Like week 1, I played the Bills, playoff team. Me and him always have tough, rainy, crazy games. I won by 3 scores. It was one of those games where I felt I could have lost. It was one of those ones where the score doesn't really tell you how the game played. But then week 2 is probably the best complete game my team has put together, especially on the defense side. Like Tron is his first game in the MBL, but we know he's a good player, and he got 3 points, man. Like the defense was just suffocating. Simpson was everywhere, and some of these young safeties just really clamped down on over top. So it's just bend and no break. But then this week I have a big one. It's a rematch against the other champ. So I play Brad. We always have some good games. He's beat me twice now in a row here, so it's kind of a main focus. Madden even put it as a Monday night game, so it's gonna be there's gonna be the stars are out.
Let's see TV right there. Heck yeah.
And Lamar's gonna be out. So I think we're gonna be playing tomorrow before the Super Bowl. So it's kind of good to lead into that game.
Oh, very good.
But yeah, it'll be Will Levis, and we'll see what I can do with him. He came in, was hot in the preseason and in my last game when he came in relief versus the Bucks. But this team looks good. I head on vacation / a conference in the Dominican in a week. So there's gonna be a few forced losses. So my margin of error is kind of a little bit smaller this year. So it's like I gotta win these early on games, and I got a few games with the Steelers coming up before I leave, which are gonna be huge for being in the division race if I can catch those with the Bengals falling off. And then obviously, Slam, I think you're what, 2-0, right? So you're off to a nice start.
Yeah,
as well.
we're doing our thing.
My goodness. And so, as you mentioned, Lamar goes down with broken ribs. He's out for 3 weeks, and it seems as though, the train kind of keeps moving. And so Levis now comes in. It seems as though your offense doesn't change much. Of course, you don't have a running quarterback, but you still seem kind of explosive. What was your thought process adding Levis? Did you know kind of Lamar was kind of, being overworked a little bit and injury was kind of coming? How'd you come about that?
Well, my obviously I ran with him a lot. He got over 1,000 rushing yards last year. So it was more a matter of if, not when it was going to happen. He's had over 100 carries every season for me. He's a part of my offense. I knew I just needed to get a guy, and I felt like there was a decent class. There's about 5 or 6 quarterbacks that I was okay with playing with if I have to in the backup side. And so the market wasn't that high for him. No one was going after these guys. And so, Levis is only signed for a couple million a year. Still relatively young. He's 27, but he's I'm going to be fine with him as my backup for the next 3 or 4 years. And I had a guy I drafted the first year that just wasn't. Anytime I used him, he just couldn't make plays when people were getting pressure on him. And so I just had to make a move. And Levis has enough speed that I could still keep most of my offense. I'll probably be handing it off a little bit more than I would keeping it, but he's an 80 speed and he's a big guy, and he kind of hold on to the ball a little bit as well. So
very good. The NFC North or AFC North is one of those divisions where the offenses are high-powered and can move the ball, can put up points. But I think a little bit of defense goes a long way in a division like that. So being able to add 3 studs to a defense and be able to keep rolling when your starting quarterback goes out, props to you. That's very important. But we had Sonny on, owner of the Bengals, last week.
Yeah, well, 1 second. Now that I'm on after Sonny, he's going on a nice losing streak. We might find out there's a curse.
Oh,
in this
hey.
show.
Yeah, the coast to coast curse. I'm about it. But we had Sonny. Sonny, he picked his own over under. So let's ask you, you have an over under of 13.5. Are you the Ravens going over? Or are they going under 13.5?
So, I would probably change that over under to about 12, just because I know I'm gonna have probably 2 forced losses at minimum. I would say with that, I say I would probably be around 11 to 12. So I would say probably under, to be honest. Because I'm working a new running back, and so there's, without my quarterback and some big matchups coming up, there's gonna be a couple losses, but the goal is to get in the playoffs, so that's all that matters. And so I think that's a pretty fair number, though. If I was pushing probably a 14-game season with my start win season, but I think there's gonna be that morale kind of hit mid-season where there's gonna be a feeling drop.
Man, morale plays a huge role as we start getting into the later weeks of the season and into the postseason. So hopefully that doesn't hurt your team too much. But coast to coast, our gimmick is that we talk about anyone and everyone. So we're going to jump around to a couple divisions. Let's start with a fun one. The NFC West. You got 3 teams that are 2-1, 1 team that is 0-3. Surprise 0-3, actually, or maybe not a surprise to some, but the San Francisco 49ers off to an 0-3 start after 2 really strong seasons, a Super Bowl appearance, and a nice, I don't know if were they one and done last year, or did they win? I think they won a playoff game. Yeah. So fresh off a division round loss, 0-3, that's not something you would expect, even though I feel like they had a few departures. They lost a few players, so it was going to be a different team on the field. But now we see that it really did impact the team in a negative way. They are 29th in yards allowed. They're 30th in pass yards allowed. Still doing well against the run at number 13, but we know the MBL is a high-flying league, so you have to be able to play the pass in order to win some of these games, and they are just not doing it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say, I kind of knew this was coming, honestly. The biggest surprise, and so I'm still trying to kind of figure out why there was a quarterback change. Purdy had his best season last season in the NBL, and so I'm not understanding why Purdy got benched, but nonetheless he did, and the quarterback play is extremely worse this season. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of projecting a switch back to Purdy. I think Purdy needs to get this offense back on. You don't have CMC anymore. Gotta figure out what kind of consistency you can get from this running game. But get Purdy back in there. If this Macker throws on, but we'll see what happens.
The craziest thing about the Purdy switch is that Purdy's signed for the next 7 years. What are we doing?
Really,
yeah. What are we doing?
I don't know. They have their reasons. I don't know. Maybe they, he got caught up in a scandal or something. I don't know. I don't know. You're shuffling
deck chairs on the deck of the Titanic is what you're doing there. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, man. So we'll see.
What
Well, I mean,
what else?
the biggest thing that is both him and the Seahawks, both have rookie quarterbacks. Both of them have played 3 games each. Combined, they have 13 interceptions to 7 touchdowns. They're below 60%. They're just not getting it done, man. And Seahawks, I think, is even a bigger glaring issue. Is you have Marco, the guy they traded for last year, doing great. He's at 360 yards. They don't have another 100-yard receiver on that team. It's all one-dimensional to Marco, and it's going to come back and bite him sooner or later.
It might not in that division.
That's true. That's true. You get a little bit of leeway there to kind of find your way during the season.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
The Rams is. I don't know. I don't know if you have a huge leeway with the Rams doing what they're doing. If the Rams start getting this thing picked up, I don't know. These teams if they're falling behind, these Rams get a big lead. I think they're definitely going to be a playoff team. These other teams going to be outside of that.
Well, I like the Cards. I like the Cards too. I mean, he's 2-1 after beating the Niners in this week as well. I think being in the NFC though, being in the playoff run, you're gonna have a chance to make the playoffs even if you start slow.
Well, we week 4, a big Rams Cardinals matchup. I know I'm gonna be tuning in.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Oh, huge game. And, Rams Cardinals, man, that's awesome. Props to those teams. The Cardinals made some really good moves this offseason to better their rosters. The Rams, of course, they're big players in free agency. But they made a move for Kyle Hamilton right beginning of the start of the season. I thought it was an extreme great move for him. He brings the identity to that defense that makes them feel as though they can stop it. Huge move.
That trade with him was pretty funny when he figured out a deal pretty quickly. He's like, wow, I thought I had no chance. And I was like, you know what? I had to figure out who was going to resign. Hamilton was kind of one I could get away with because he had a replacement player for me. But you can tell he kind of got an added motivation. This is the year we got our big trade and let's go make it happen. And it's awesome to see him at 2-1 at this point in the year.
Well, it's definitely, the results are definitely showing on the field. Let's jump across to another surprising team. I mean, they're not surprising. They did the same thing last year, but it is always nice to check in, and we all love a true underdog story. The Las Vegas Raiders sitting at 2-0, a half game behind the 3-0 Denver Broncos, only because they haven't played their Week 3 game yet. But Broncos got a little bit of competition, a little bit somebody nipping at their heels a little bit.
Yeah, Broncos always got somebody, kind of along with them. And so it's usually KC and the Raiders got us last year too. So, those teams always play us tough. We love the competition. Love it.
Yeah, the division games usually are the toughest ones on your schedule because it's somebody that you see so often, and you can never really take a result outside of the division as meaningful as a game inside the division because it's always a different type of game when you play somebody that you're very familiar with. Kansas City trades Patrick Mahomes 0-2 with the rookie quarterback. Cougs, is there anything that you're seeing from the rookie quarterback in Kansas City?
I mean, the thing is, he's trying to probably make throws that he used to be able to make with Mahomes, and it's just not happening. Obviously, he's trying to build that quarterback. He's thrown it 48 times, where he's only ran with Pacheco 17. I think that just tells the story right there. He's trying to build this quarterback. I understand why, but man, that's gonna be tough to turn around. If you get we were talking about the morale, if that guy gets too far into the hole, it's kind of hard to turn around.
You are absolutely correct.
Absolutely,
yeah, he's already been hit. I already see you guys. Pretty big hit already with all his throwing stuff's kind of out of the way. He's got to get turned around and he's got to do it quick.
That's a good point that you just made. I agree wholeheartedly. It's they're not using Pacheco to ease him in. They're actually using his arm to try to get him as much talent as he can. And he has talented receivers. But I think the problem is that everyone's kind of dropping back now. They're like, oh, you're throwing it with this rookie? Oh, come on, give us something. And so, yeah, I mean, the more you kind of get Pacheco out there running, the more of the threat to that play action and different things, easy throws with Edwards, and that, kind of piggybacks itself and gets some of those yards and those touchdowns that he needs. It builds his confidence.
Yeah, I mean, when I played him in the playoffs in the last few years, my goal was get up early. Like, I was more aggressive versus him than probably anyone, because I knew if I'm up 2 scores, then Pacheco's not on the field, right? Make him throw. And now he's doing it to himself out of the box. He's already starting to throw like he's down, like to try to get his guys some stuff. And the defense hasn't done much. He has 1 interception, 1 sack. So they're not holding up their end of the bargain, and they're probably getting short fields with the 8 interceptions already at this point in the season.
It's always fascinating when a team completely changes its identity for one player. Yep. And I think when you, and I think that's what separates the good teams from the great teams, is having a plan going into the offseason and sticking to that plan and not trying to change your whole team with one free agency or one draft class. Sticking to the script. There's, this isn't the only season. There's another season after this one. So you don't have to try to fix or change everything at one time. I think a lot of people could benefit from some advice like that. Moving on, the AFC East. New York Jets, 2-1. Leading the division currently by by a game and a half, only because Miami hasn't played their week 3 game yet. But that's a surprise at this point in the season. The Buffalo Bills are 1-2. I don't think many people would have guessed that at this point we're less than a month in, so we're not gonna predict the Super Bowl at this point in time. But the Jets leading the division. That's a shock to me. Ray, how do you feel?
I can tell you what, man. I think the Jets are winning this division. Just the way this team plays and how they operate, my goodness. They've played some teams tough. Their defense we already knew was tough, but the quarterback play, I think that's what's kind of very surprising to me. And, they talked about Clay Casey for a while. They said, hey, he's the future. He's the future. He's the future. And now we get he has 800 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, and hitting 80% of his passes. And so maybe they came up with a game plan that said, hey, we're going to let Clay work and we're going to have a game plan around him. But when you have a quarterback play like that and you have Breece Hall behind him and you can run Breece Hall, they'll get him going. Breece doesn't have any touchdowns yet this season on the ground, but I think they'll get Breece going and they'll get this quarterback play. It's a dangerous team in this division. I think the division's up for grabs. I think the Jets are going to take it.
Hey, special teams a little shaky in New York, but I think they're making up for it, like you said, with stellar quarterback play.
I think that's better special teams from Cleveland than bad special teams from New York. Come on, Mike.
I think you hit the nail. Like, he has 10 touchdown passes, like you said. He has only 10 incompletions. So he's doing it the right way. He's getting touchdowns just as often as he's getting incomplete passes, which is crazy. Perfect passing rating, and I think adding Travis Kelce there, of just the guys dominating right now. Him and Garrett Wilson, with having Hall out of the backfield, you got 3 levels of where you got to look at the passing game, and he's doing it better than I think these other rookies who are trying to really get stats for the quarterback, throwing it a lot. He's still running a decent amount with Breece Hall, and so I think that's kind of made it so people can't just tune in on the pass. So I think what he's doing is really picture perfect way of building an offense around a young guy.
There it is. Hopefully he keeps it up. Best of luck to New York as they continue the push. Jumping across to the NFC East. New owner, new coach in Dallas. No problem, as it's actually changed the fortunes of the franchise for the better. Dallas Cowboys leading that division by half a game over Washington, who we all big fans of Washington on the pod. But Dallas only a half game lead simply because they haven't played their week 3 game yet, but they're sitting at 2-0. Washington at 2-1. while the Giants and the Eagles are at 0-2 respectively. Cougs, any words on the Cowboys?
Man, I have a lot of history with this owner. One of my favorite dudes. Got to hang out with him in person. The guy's gonna have these electric seasons. He has the pieces of a team that he can do well. Like, man, he's looking good so far, and he hasn't even really got besides Metcalf, this passing game. Lamb has 35 yards. You know that's gonna get crazy, and 2 good running backs with Walker and Blake. They have his team's built for the NFC East to win it. He's gonna be a contender year 1 in the NFC, I think, and I think it's gonna be fun to follow. You know, it's he's going into a team he didn't build, but he gets to see in, and he's gonna be a force. I think a lot of teams are not gonna be happy when they see him get momentum throughout the season.
Ray, is there a better situation to walk into than that Dallas situation?
This team was built very well. I just think they just didn't have the kind of ball bounce their way these a few games, and you know, it just wasn't coached up as good as I think it could have been. But the roster is as talented as it could be, top to bottom. I do think, you know, they're kind of easing their way into, you know, the roster though. So they're easing their way in each week, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I think we'll see towards the middle and the end of the season, this team's going to kind of pick up steam, and they're going to be real dangerous in this NFC because that roster is very talented.
The New York Giants in the Super Bowl last year, starting at 0-2. And they're still rolling with Daniel Jones, right?
I don't know. Huntley about to get in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see a quarterback change probably really soon.
I feel like as much grief as the Packers get for their tight end pick, and you know, whatever that is, I feel like it's only fair that the Giants get as much grief as picking a quarterback number 1. Granted, he did get hurt, but then you don't go back to him.
I don't know. So I'll kind of drop the timeline here, Slam. So he did start the season last season. He did get hurt. Daniel Jones came in for the 4 games that he was out, played tremendously. And so it's one of those situations where do you stick with the high hand or do you go back to the rookie? And so they stuck with the high hand, and the high hand rode him all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't think it was a poor decision that they made, but I think starting this season, I don't know, that maybe you kind of take a deeper dive and say, hey, what do we got in this quarterback, this rookie quarterback, this 1-year quarterback now that we have?
Right. That's how I'd go. I personally probably would have switched back to the rookie last year, but you know, like you said, they rode the hot hand and it got them to the Super Bowl. So, you know, they obviously made the right decision for them. Jumping back over to the AFC South. All the teams in the AFC South are kind of floundering at the moment, including our former Super Bowl champion. Granted, it's real early. No team has played 3 games yet in this division. Houston, Tennessee, Indianapolis, all sitting at 1-1. Jacksonville at 0-2. I don't really think there's much you could say about this division at the moment because it's all kind of even. Anything in particular, Cougs, that stands out from this division for you?
I mean, yeah, since I'm playing this week, I've been kind of looking at some things, and you know, he's fumbled 3 times already with Anthony Richardson. So is he trying to do too much there? I mean, Richardson's passing stats look great. The team has pretty good stats. Like, this guy's going to be there at the end of the year. He still has Devin White, who's kind of anchoring that defense. Like, I think it's more of once he gets kind of going, this is not going to be a team you want to face. So I have no concerns with him. I think he's still the heavy favorite for the division. But everyone else will talk loud to try to say that it's their turn, and I just don't see it happening.
Give me some thoughts on Jacksonville, Ray. I know you're kind of high on Jacksonville, right? Even though they are who they are.
You know, I'm always high on Jacksonville. I'll be honest with you. Jacksonville has played these teams in their division tough in the past. And so it's one of those things where Jacksonville's roster keeps getting better. But the utilization of the talent is not what is getting better. I think when they started out a few seasons ago, they had a plan and they played it well. They played these teams tough down to the wire. And so now it's kind of getting to a point where they're forcing it a little bit. You don't have to force it, man. Just run that thing with Chubb. Let Trevor Lawrence do some play action pass, get the ball to your X factor tight end, and you can roll from there. But I think Jacksonville will sneak out a few games this season. They'll figure it out. But to compete with the Colts, defending champs, it's going to take a while. It's going to take even more time. They're a tough team.
Well, Jacksonville, their week 2 game, they played the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland was just involved in a head scratcher of a trade themselves. I guess I can kind of speak on it like Coog spoke on it. Got a lot of cap space opening up this offseason. Let's ride free agency instead of the draft, see if we can pick up some known commodities rather than gambling on a first, second, or a third round pick that we'll have to develop. And let's go get a quarterback that's making significantly less money than Deshaun Watson, even though he will need to be re-signed next season. But you got a whole season with him making less than $1 million, I believe, and getting rid of the $80 million that Deshaun Watson is currently making. So that was the thought process behind the move there. I know that a lot of people do not agree, but you got to do what's best for you, I feel. So. But go ahead, Ray. I know you have thoughts. Say it.
Look, Mike. Hey, man. So what in the scouting department said this guy Atkinson, he's it. Like we got to get him, and not just get him. Let's talk about the haul. Like, so we're talking about what? Multiple first round picks, multiple second round picks, correct?
No multiple first round picks. Only one
first round pick and multiple second round picks, correct?
Right.
Okay, and
a third.
So yeah, so why that? So why that much for a guy that we knew was going to be number 2 on the Texans depth chart? We knew the Texans weren't doing it. We knew the Texans made a trade for him, traded Stroud, got a first round pick back, traded second round pick to the Rams for this guy, and they absolutely hated him in the building last season, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. Why trade so much value for a guy that seemed like he wasn't very much valuable to any team?
Cougs, how awful is it when you have to deal with the Texans in regards to making a trade?
I want a trade embargo, man. It's bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's really bad.
And so in reality, the offer. So okay, I reached out. He said, "All right, cool. Let's start trying to work something out." And he started naming players that he wanted, and it's like, yo, why am I going to give you these players for a player that's not even playing? I'm just not. Jaden Carr was mentioned. Myles Garrett was mentioned. And it's just like I'm not. We're not going to do that for this quarterback that's not playing for you, that's never going to play for you, that's just sitting there. And so it just got to a point where it's like, dude, at first it was 2 1s, so 1, 2, 3 this year and a 1 next year, and it's just like even that's too much. So just to shut you up, it's like I'll do a 1, 2, 3 and a 2.
Wow. So
and it was just like
Cleveland did know that Justin Fields in Chicago was available, right?
No, had no.
Okay, and then Bryce Young was also a talented quarterback.
I mean, Bryce Young's too much. There's no, and that's another thing. A lot of this was money based.
I get it.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I get that money based.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to pay those 2 guys to bring them into the building. Understood.
And we just don't.
And even in free agency,
have the ability to do that.
Just thinking ahead. I mean, like we talked about with Cougs, Will Levis was there, and I mean, still a talented quarterback. I understand your thought process of a young talent, and I can see him being a potential, superstar X factor for your team. But
there was no money. No money. I can't stress enough how there
Pitching
was
pennies.
no money.
Yeah, I get you. Pitching pennies.
Yeah. So the only person that you can bring in is this particular quarterback who's making less than $1 million, because we had to let Dorian Thompson-Robinson walk, which cleared up I think it was $1.25 million space that I needed to bring this quarterback
y'all
in.
let him walk?
Oh,
I didn't even know that.
Hey, you had to. You gotta clear the money somewhere. He's definitely not gonna play now because you got Watson and Atkinson in the building. So he was the casualty. But now, once Watson leaves, we're good. We got all the cap flexibility that we'll need to move forward. And this quarterback, everybody was hung up on the tight spiral. I mean, I played. He started week 2. I think that he balled out. I think he threw 4 touchdown passes, 200 and something yards, almost 300 something yards. Granted, it was against Jacksonville. Hold on, not pulling a Sonny Weaver and big up in my players for no reason. But he did what he was supposed to do, and I believe that he is comparable to Deshaun Watson on paper.
Ooh, Watson that bad, huh?
I have a take. I have a take on this trade too.
Talk about it.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I'm actually one of the guys that's probably on your side, Slam, here, because I had to do something similar. Me and you have similar like cap situations where freaking Lamar is gonna be making $80 million next year for me, and I have to think 2 seasons, 1 season ahead. Once I re-sign Lamar, he's gonna be cheaper than $80 million. And if not, I can just let him go, and then I'm wide open. But my only thing on the Atkinson thing is, you should have tried and got like a Howell or even like Levis I got for a couple million. Levis is a very similar player to Atkinson, and you wouldn't have to give up all that draft capital. But man, even those picks cost money too. So you opened up a decent amount of cap space. You got a backup quarterback, which isn't always easy. Like a lot of people would love this guy on their bench or even starting for him. So I think you did all right. I don't know if I would have did that many picks, but sometimes you got to do that so you don't have to talk to Reezy anymore. So
there it is, man. Sometimes you gotta pay.
Pay for him.
Sometimes you gotta pay to play.
Pay for him to shut up.
Yeah, pay for him to shut up. Just
man.
go. Just give me the guy and go away.
Wow.
And I mean, not to mention he's superstar development. There was a time when Deshaun Watson, I was like, I'll just re-sign Deshaun Watson because I've been playing well with Deshaun Watson. I like Deshaun Watson. He's fine. But then it's like, oh, this quarterback is available who's on par with Deshaun Watson, who's 4 years younger, who with the proper development and coaching this season, I believe will be better than Deshaun Watson at season's end. So that's there's a little bit of foresight in the move. Granted, you give up your draft next year, who cares? But that's when free agency opens up and the Browns can finally be a player in free agency. So we'll supplement our no draft with some free agents.
Yeah, no, I kind of like it. And actually, I am wrong. I do know the one way to get Breezy not to talk to you. It's when he's your BR runner. All of a sudden, he disappears. He disappears somehow, and then it's kind of nice.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone from that.
Well, enough of that. Let's jump to the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons, sitting at 2-0, have yet to play their Week 3 game. They have a big Week 3 matchup with the Cleveland Browns. That should be going down Saturday night. I think that's probably the only time we can do it because Atlanta is busy. But you got New Orleans, Carolina, Tampa Bay. New Orleans, Carolina are both sitting at 1-1. Tampa Bay at 0-2. Tampa Bay with a new owner. Kind of happened quickly in the night. So, I don't know what the expectations are there with the new owner, but New Orleans, Carolina at 1-1. It's really early. Ray, how do you see? Is there cause for alarm after 2 weeks in Carolina, or are we still rolling with Carolina?
Carolina has a tough schedule this season. I think they've had tough schedules before. I think Atlanta kind of, I wouldn't say surprise them. Remember, it's a division game, so they know each other. But I think Atlanta kind of went over the hump week 1 and really took it to them. I mean, that was a really impressive game from Atlanta start to finish week 1. And so I think Atlanta has turned over a new leaf. I think their quarterback play is outstanding. Desmond Ridder is completing 83% of his passes. He's not turning the ball over very much. And so I think that's the difference. And so when you have that, you're going to have a team that's going to win some big games, and they're going to compete with Carolina for the division. I think this is the year that Carolina has some competition for their division. And, I don't know. We might see Atlanta, do some big things, but, let's also talk about my Saints. The Saints they're going to sneak in some wins too. We'll see.
New quarterback in New Orleans, right? Rookie quarterback starting.
Yeah. Could Waters end up being the best rookie quarterback of this class? We'll see. Time will tell. But I think he's exactly what New Orleans needed. New superstar in town, and so he's gonna win them some big games.
Cougs, any thoughts on the NFC South?
Man, I think it's I don't know. I haven't played Tron much, but I've always thought he's been a pretty good player. I think I've played him in other leagues before, even in the past. But I think now it's Paul Waters' division, and good luck trying to get that from him. I think that's a perfect situation for that quarterback, and I think you're going to see maybe him start pulling away and kind of rest into the playoffs instead of a dogfight towards the end. But I think Falcons can be good. I think that's the division where it's you don't want to face them. And obviously you have JB, who he's probably been my biggest nemesis over the years when I was always in his conference. And I think he knocked me out 3 NFC championships in a 2-year span. But I think there's just,
I've been there too.
I think he's just unhappy with his quarterback situation. And whenever you're excited, whether it's a good quarterback or not, you just feel going into those games with a little bit more motivation. And I think the Saints is going to be a strong player the rest of the cycle.
Very good.
That's a really good point that you brought up, with the Panthers being unhappy with their quarterback situation. And I mean, I think, we all know here, the Panthers have gone to the negotiation table with Bryce Young, and I'm told the number was astronomical to the point where, both sides kind of left the table. And so no deal was done. And so I think, like you said, Cruz, you have a situation with your quarterback and you're like, hey, I don't even know if this guy's going to be around next season. That kind of changes the mindset of the team. And so, yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that quarterback play in Carolina. Now, there's talent there, but now it's the mental portion. It's the mental portion of
what are
you going to be around? I don't know. Might be looking.
I don't understand. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is Bryce Young that bad?
No,
he's bad when you want $460 million. That's when it's bad, fam. It gets real bad then.
I mean, let's hey Carolina, don't be cheap. Keep winning. Spend the money to win. Can't take it with you.
Being cheap. Being cheap can be expensive, man. That's one thing I say in sales. You go a little bit cheaper, you can't expect the same results. And I don't know, Bryce Young has had a hell of a cycle so far. He's around 110 touchdowns, I think, with 40 interceptions. Man, I don't mess with that. He's doing 75% passing most years. You know what you're gonna get from him. But man, JP's gonna try a penny pinch him, that's for sure. Or JB is. So
and he's gonna penny pinch him straight to another team.
I think he re-signs him by the end of the year. I don't see it anyway. He lets him go. But I mean, JB in real life is all. I mean, whenever I try to sell him baseball, it's about getting something cheaper. So he just works that angle, man. He works that angle. but he is the PR guy for me, man. He takes care of me.
JB,
I send him something. He's on top of it, man.
That's how it works.
Good for him. We big fans of JB on this podcast for sure. NFC North, the Detroit Lions 2-0. I believe they were my pick for the division winner. Chicago and Minnesota, or Chicago at 1-1, hasn't played their week 3 game yet. Minnesota 1-2, Green Bay at 1-2. Detroit. I think everybody's finally ready for Detroit to take a hold of this division, like we probably all assumed they would, and I think this is the year that they do it.
Yeah,
right?
Detroit's back. I think last season was a fluke, them not making the playoffs. They're definitely back, and this team may be competing for number 1 in the NFC. Honestly, this might be the number 1 team in the NFC. If they keep rolling like they are, yeah, they're gonna be good.
Out of the current division leaders, Detroit, Atlanta, Dallas, Seattle. I'm a big Seattle fan, but as far as consistency goes, I have the most faith in Detroit at this point in time. So yeah, Cougs, any thoughts on the Detroit Lions?
I agree with you. I think 1 seed and an NFC championship should, or at least making that game, should be a minimum of what to expect this season. They have it. This week's gonna be a huge week. They play JV. Winner gets a nice tiebreaker over the other, and they always have some heated, fun matchups. So that's probably the game I'm most excited this week to watch. But I think this Lions team is rounding out, like Goff. They have they're like, a lot of these teams are looking over their veterans. They're like, you know what, this is my guy for the cycle. Let's ride with him. Gibbs can always get loose, and then when you have the guys like Jameson Williams, St. Brown, and then Laporta, like that offense, we're talking about, the Packers try to build a super offense. I think the Lions have a more fun, an offense I like even better, to be honest, especially their pieces. And then I think their defense is superior. So I think they're my favorite, maybe in the NFC, to make it the 1 seed, and I think it all starts this week with the matchup with the Panthers.
And slack on the defense.
You mentioned yes. You mentioned the tiebreaker. That is huge, huge, and getting it out of the way early in the season, it's nice. It's a nice little trump card to have in your back pocket as you go down the stretch. Knowing that you have a tiebreaker over a heated conference rival or a team that you may feel is better than you, or stiff competition, it's nice to be able to use that to your advantage.
Well, one thing about the Lions,
jumping across.
One more thing about the Lions is, we're at week 3, so this is when you see teams start re-signing players and stuff. So this is a pretty big week in our league on that stuff. You see who's priority on their team. They've signed some guys, I think 7-year deals, a few of them. They're like, we like what we have here in Detroit, and they're just rolling with it, and it's gonna be fun to see. I think I saw they signed. Let me see if I can pull up real quick. They signed Jameson Williams, or they have Jameson Williams, St. Brown, and Goff all restructured the contract. So when you do that, you're kind of keeping the guy for longer. But they're able to sign Jack Campbell, Gibbs for 7 years this week. So they kind of like got our core, and what's this
big deals. Yeah, big deals.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the way to go. And I think a franchise like Carolina can learn a thing or two. You have something good. You don't need to change. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You're already doing the right thing. Build around your guys. Put the pieces in place to get you over the hump. Your quarterback's fine. Pay the man.
I think, to your point, Slam, of building teams, I think some teams are kind of restarting this past offseason. They're restarting their teams, where other teams have been building their teams since day 1. And so they had a plan since day 1, and they're just following the script. And so this is the season where you start to see those teams kind of come full circle. And it's like, hey, all the hard work we've been putting in since day 1, this is the team that we're putting out there. It's the best team that they can show for, which is really nice.
And that's always, I feel like that's always the move, because if you don't start building from day 1, you're gonna start rebuilding halfway through, and then now you're kind of running out of time. There's not much time left. I don't know, you want to start building your team early and get to a point where you can compete for the duration, rather than trying to fix something that probably shouldn't have been broken in the first place. But that's just me. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. But yeah. Anyway, jumping across to the AFC North. a little bit of bias, but this is probably the toughest division in MBL. No, I don't think there's many people that can argue the other way. Pittsburgh 2-0 with Patrick Mahomes. Baltimore 2-0, Cleveland 2-0, Cincinnati 1-2. No one's worried; they'll be back. Cougs, talk about your division. You own it. Let's hear it.
I mean, I've only won division one time, partly because I've been gone, but I think you just see high quarterback level play. This season, Burrow, Mahomes, Atkinson, Watson, even all these guys are throwing like 70+%. Lamar Jackson's the one, the MVP from last season, the one probably holding everyone back. But then you have Will Levis with 2 touchdowns. I think we're like a 21-7 touchdown to interception ratio, and 5 of those picks are the Chip Kelly of the league, Sonny Weaver, with 5 interceptions with Burrow. So like, I don't know. I think what makes the AFC North so good is it's very diverse. Teams aren't afraid to run. I know, like, I'm kind of scared of the Steelers, not gonna lie, because with Mahomes, that just opens up a whole nother thing. He has only 7 incompletions in 2 games, but then he has Najee Harris. That's been my focus. Stop his run. I can't really focus on that anymore because then I'm just gonna get beat over the top. So just every team has different style. When you play the Browns, you just don't punt. So there's just a couple things there. His special teams is by far the best in the league. So it's like, get yourself in good positions so that you can move the sticks. And I think you're just gonna see any team can win it. Like that's the division where like you're seeing some crazy matchups. You're seeing a lot of pressure because we have to bring pressure to get sacks in that division. Man, it's kind of impressive when you just look at the league, the AFC North stats throughout the year so far. There's guys that are putting up a lot of yards on the ground. There's guys throwing the ball over the field. There's a lot of sacks. There's multiple guys with a couple sacks already. Multiple guys with a couple interceptions.
Couple block
punts. I think our division's forced like 10 fumbles already, and I know Sonny's been talking about a lot of fumbles, but like, man, we have 3 block kicks in our division so far this year too. Like, you just never know what's going to happen in the game in the AFC North. That's probably the easiest way to put it. So,
absolutely, Ray, as an outsider, your thoughts on the AFC North?
I think what doesn't get talked about a lot is the respect for the defenses in the North. I think anybody can go out there and kind of hit open man, but when you have a scheme, you have a defense, you can scheme up your defense well to make it stops. I think that's what the North goes well, but I also believe that's the difference between the top of the North and the bottom of the North is the defense. And so getting those stops, getting those consistent stops when you need them. I think that's why you see the Ravens constantly kind of winning out of those games, is because their defense can get those stops. Whereas, you see those teams building, like the Bengals, they're building their defense. And like you said, with the Browns and their special teams, they're finding other ways to kind of get stops on you and get those easy points against you. And then the Steelers quietly signing back TJ Watt, I think was a kind of point and shot at saying, hey, we're trying to get this defense back right. So when you have that defense, you have that defense that can get some consistent stops. That's the difference from top to bottom.
That TJ Watt signing definitely flew under my radar.
Quiet.
Was not.
Hush, don't say nothing. Sheesh. Some quiet signing.
Didn't see it at all. So good for them. I'm glad Pittsburgh's back. It's more fun. It's more fun when every team in the AFC North is really putting their best foot forward, because that the division games are going to be nasty. They're going to be competitive. We're even going to be competing with each other when we're not playing each other, because the non-conference games, non-division games are going to mean so much more as well. So it'll be fun to see who separates themselves in that division. And got to talk about myself real quick, but we'll see if the little engine that could Atkinson can keep up with the big daddies in the AFC North this season. But on that note, closing thoughts, Cougs. your first Coast to Coast experience, the Coast to Coast curse.
I don't know.
How'd you
Now
like
I'm
it?
free to play, Brad. I think tomorrow, but nah, this was a great show, and love what you guys have brought to the league, and I've listened to all of them, and it gets me through some work days, that's for sure. So I appreciate all you guys, all the time and effort you guys put into this.
Hell yeah, that's wouldn't be possible without the producer, the editor, the man that puts it all together, Ray. I just show up and I talk. Ray is the one that does all the heavy lifting. So big shout out, big props to Ray. Wouldn't be the same without you for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. All I gotta say is, go Saints, man. Let's go. Come on, Saints. I got money riding on
that.
So it's who that? So it's who that?
Who that? Yeah, big. This Coast to Coast, Big Saints house planet.
Come on,
If you're
Saints.
listening, let's
get
go.
it. Hey, you know what? The Jets about to get me going too, man. The Jets look good. So Ramsey, Sauce, man. They got me excited over there. I want to see them do something. Come on, do something.
They need to patch some. They need to patch some holes on that special teams unit before I buy it.
Man. They just gotta see it coming. You got to do your homework. Come on, know who you playing.
No, that's a big one. That is, yeah. We're gonna leave you with that. Know who you're playing. There it is. On that note, this has been Coast to Coast, episode number 8. Love doing this as always. Hey, hit our DMs. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. That was the vision for Coast to Coast from day one. Is talking to all of you. I mean, me and Ray can talk whenever, and we'll do it as we've shown. But we want to talk to you. Come, hang out with us. Shoot the shit. Tell some jokes. Make me laugh. Talk shit on Reezy, DB, whoever you want. Quibble, whoever. We want to do it. Let's do it. So on that note, everybody have a wonderful rest of the day. Happy Super Bowl Sunday tomorrow or today, whenever this comes out. We look forward to seeing you in episode number 9. Good afternoon, everybody.
All right, MBL, peace.
GG, boys.